All right, just one more before the break. Next up, we have Nick Vance, and he'll be talking about the social media macroscope.
Yes. I'm going to move a slide real quick. Decided to change the order while I was on my way up here, so now I got to move this slide around. Oh, this is harder to do than I thought it was going to be. One. This guy's touchy. All right. Two. There we go. So, like Kenton said, my name's Nick Vance. I am from the University of Illinois, and I work in technology services, which is our main IT department. And I do technology prototyping both for researchers and for our campus, trying to build new prototypes to serve the campus needs. And that is where the social media macroscope came out of. This is from a partnership between my department and NCSA, building an open source science gateway for social media research. So the team is me, Joe Yoon, who's our PI, Luigi is on our team, and then Chen Wang is our main programmer, along with some other folks. So your first question is probably, what is a macroscope? You can think of it along the lines of a telescope and a microscope. A telescope's looking at things that are infinitely great or very far away. A microscope, things that are infinitely small. And a macroscope is a tool to try and look at things that are infinitely complex, society, nature, big data sets to try and break down insights out of those things. So the problem statement that headed us towards building a macroscope for social media data is two issues. The first is for social scientists. So social scientists looking at tools that are easy to use. So they don't have to learn how to use, don't have to learn how to use R and Python. I'll try and turn this, see if you can still hear me. They don't have to try and learn how to use complex things like R and Python, but things like Facebook and Twitter and aggregators and companies like Crimson Hexagon, which is one that we use, are easy to use but have untransparent methodology where things like R and Python are very hard to use. We are trying to take those algorithms and put them in an easy to use interface. And the second is for computer scientists. So they have customized models that they want to house, but have trouble accessing the social media data and getting them out to folks. So our hope is to build this gateway that appeals to computer scientists. They want to put their models in here. They want to get citations for their models and get them in the hands of social scientists, but we want to make it easy for social scientists to use. So a couple highlights are Macroscope is fully open source. The platform is HubZero, built at Purdue. The apps are all open source apps that we have built. The algorithms, the only ones we use, are open source ones from researchers. And even the data collection, we have all of our methods up online. It is free for academic use, so if you want to start ignoring me and sign up for an account at socialmediamacroscope.org, feel free. Anyone with a .edu address, your account will automatically be approved, so if you want to sneakily use it on the side with your .edu address for commercial use, I'd ask you to not, but you could if you wanted to. And constantly growing, so we're working on this. We're working with other researchers trying to add their algorithms. So here is a look at the website. There's the URL if you want to check it out for yourselves. It actually, this is an old look at the website. It looks better now. It's good news. Constantly growing and constantly getting better. So we have two apps. You can think of it as kind of an app store for social media apps. We have two apps right now, and we're working on newer ones. The first one is Smile, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. And the second one is Bay, which has a funny name, but it is called the Brand Analytics Environment, and it actually does personality profiling based on your social media data. So you give it permission to access your Twitter profile, and it spits out a the big 5 personality type profile for you, and you can use it to compare against brands and other things. So Smile, like I said, this is where we're using Clowder right now. So Smile is the social media intelligence and learning environment. We pick the name first, and then we fit the words to it, which I think is what most researchers do with their acronyms. So as you can see from this little GIF here, it does 3 things. It allows you to search, analyze, and export social media data. You can guess which of those Clowder is most involved in right now. So search, we have a search interface that we are trying to make really usable, really easy for people to get in. We tried to make it look just like your regular website Google search bar. It has Twitter and Reddit data, and it also has connection to the vendor that I talked about called Crimson Hexagon. So if you have an account with Crimson Hexagon, you can pull your data built-in searches in there over to the macroscope to be able to actually bring it in and then analyze it. So if you're into text analytics, all of these things will mean something to you. If you're not, it's not that important right now for me to explain all, but we've got sentiment analysis, named entity recognition, network analysis, natural language pre-processing, so that's tokenization, lemmonization, stemming, automated phrase mining, and text classifications, machine learning. But export is what we really want to talk about for Clowder. So all of our, all of the things that you do in here, whether it's the search or whether it's any of those analysis tools, produce data. We need to be able to send that data somewhere. So we've got connections to kind of your regular run-of-the-mill data storage, Box, Google Drive. But we want to push all of our users towards Clowder. The reason for that, as you all know, is the flexibility of Clowder, the ability to kind of create these spaces and share. So to talk about our current Clowder use, as you can see, whenever you do a search, I did this one just for this, we've got this button up here to export to Clowder. The other exports are kind of hidden up there to the side. If you click on that button, it pops up a screen. You can log into your Clowder account, select the dataset type. We can go super simple, where you can just blast it off, put it in somewhere in Clowder, or you can go very complex on how you want to store it in the Clowder. So you can see you can create new spaces, collections, data sets, share them with people, Luigi right here, build all of that out of the macroscope right now. That is all we're doing with Clowder right now. It's a fairly simple use of it currently, but we are working to build a lot more complex uses for Clowder within our tool. And the onus for that is this provenance. So this is something Luigi is working on with us. So if you have questions about it after I get past it, I'm going to make him come up here and answer them. So as you are working on any analysis within the macroscope, we are working on a system to be able to track how that's happening. So it will track the search terms you use to search your social media data. It'll track the different parameters that you use during each analysis tool. And when you export the data, we'll export a file along with it using W3 provenance standards. And you'll be able to actually look at it and say, here's all the things that happen to the social media data to take it from a search all the way to your final result. And we'll export it with your data over to Clowder. And then we are working to take all of those algorithms that we have, which are all distributed right now. So we use a lot of distributed computing, which makes this a lot easier. We have Hub0 that's hosting kind of our website, but each algorithm is run through AWS in Lambda and batch functions, and we are working to take those so that we can even run them independently of AWS and make them generalized Clowder extractors. What that'll allow us to do is when you get that provenance file and you send it over into Clowder, you can reproduce whatever the analysis that person did within Clowder. So you have the data set, and then you have all of these extractors to be able to run that exact same analysis without having to go all the way over to our tool, log in, and rerun it through the search. You can run it right there in Clowder. So I was trying to make that quick so that we didn't go way over, but questions? Yeah?
So when you do a query, your initial query,
Yes.
where's the data that it's querying?
So we have a couple different data sources. We connect to Twitter and Reddit's APIs, so those are the simplest ones. You can get kind of a search of the last 7 days of Twitter data.
Okay, so it's 7 days. That's what I
Yes,
was
but we actually have some other data sources. So we've been collecting Twitter's 1% stream. They provide that for free, and we have sections of the last 2 years of the 1% stream available, and then we also have some other historical data sets topically that we've collected that are available within there as well.
So they're sitting in your purview?
Yes, yeah, so they're within our AWS, but we have kind of instructions on how to get to them, and within that search interface, it's just right down there in that drop down. You'd be able to see which ones that you want. Any other? Yes.
I'm curious about the provenance.
Yes.
What you mentioned track search terms. Are you looking for tracking people who access particular data sets? What are some of the tracking provenance parameters that are important that do not violate privacy? Do you worry about privacy in the provenance?
Yes, so Luigi will be able to help a little bit more than this, but I'll give a kind of starting answer as it comes up. So the goal of it's not to track it where we can figure out exactly what you're doing or give it to other people, but it's to be able to track it. So while you're going through and building a search, you don't have to go back and think about what were the terms that I searched, how did these work, but we'll give you the option to be able to export this so that you can show it to other people so that it's easier to reproduce. So it's less of the invading your privacy and more giving you kind of a list of exactly how this was built. When you try and publish your research, you can turn it back over
So
and make
personal
the Yes.
data tracked provenance.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just add that that data set, that input data set, we don't store that, we don't share that. So the input data that was used is not stored. Like Nick said, all the parameters are stored. That's the idea. There's also some work going on at Purdue, I think, in looking at anonymization for social media and what can be done there in terms of actually being able to share.
Yeah, so that's one other thing that we're looking at with Purdue is non-consumptive analysis of social media data. So rather than actually looking at all of the defining features, being able to run analysis out it without actually seeing the data. Went really quick at once.
Can you upload data that's
Yes.
your own?
Yes, we have a bulk up. We have an upload function. You kind of have to fit the parameters of how we're processing the data right now, but it's on there and you can go in.
So, I mean, one of the challenges within this whole modeling and data science world is the ability to keep a track of the models that we develop at the same time the data that's been used to train. Are you guys thinking about creating some kind of a capability out of whatever you guys are doing from data provenance and model provenance to be, if you will? I mean, is there any plans to kind of bring out a capability as part of Clowder?
Yeah, we've thought about that a little bit with the models that we're training. So we use kind of the models that we're using are all based on research papers. So we're just relying on those researchers to have actually given you kind of the provenance of how they train their models. But that is something we're thinking a little bit about with the ability to train your own models within here that we have, is how the data set went in and how you trained it and how kind of the parameters are adjusted, or something we're thinking about with that provenance, but it's a little bit farther down the road on how we're developing it. I think you had a question over here in the front.
Yeah, so you said you do the provenance. How do you, if I run the query a year later, how do you make sure that I get the same answer?
So that is the reason that we're going to try and build it within Clowder a little bit more, is if we export that data, we'll make sure that we have the same data there. Now, a little bit of that's going to be along the lines of research reproducibility. Maybe the data doesn't end up being the same, and maybe your research isn't reproducible, but hopefully we'll have the same inputs in Clowder. If you're running it from there, you'll be able to run it through the same extractors and run the same processes on it.
And I would just add that, I don't know if it was clear, but basically you provide the Twitter credentials and you do the query, so you can't just take that and give it to the wall, right?
Yeah.
So there is that challenge. It's an open challenge.
Yeah, and as you go in there, that's one of the ways that we try and control data privacy is you actually have to log in with a Twitter account on there, which means that at some point you accepted Twitter's terms of service, which kind of pushes it on you to make sure that you're following them and using them the same way. So it's a light control currently, but it's a little bit of a control. Yeah.
Do you have it set up so you can, as you get more new data coming in, that you automatically are processing it, or do you still have it in a place where you have to have a person clicking someplace to run the analysis?
Yeah, so it's just clicking someplace to run the analysis right now, but that's one of the things that we could look at in Clowder in Clowder as well, is getting that data there and sending it out. Thanks.
Next up,